everyone. Again, one of the questions which keeps me awake at night, and probably you as well, is should we keep the ABC? Is it important that we have a national broadcaster that tells us what is happening in the world without, for God's sake, without advertisements to start with? How wonderful is that? Is it appropriate for us to have a national broadcaster that tells us what is happening politically, what is happening factually, because they are two big differences, as you know. So there's a big debate at the moment, particularly on Sky News, in relation to whether the ABC should even exist. Now, I'm sure that people like Murdoch would like to see the eradication of the national broadcaster because it would just open up more avenues for them to tell more lies. So the question is, should we maintain it? Now, my view is, yes, we should. I can remember years ago, my father, God bless him, believed that the ABC was the only truth teller when it came to the news. If it wasn't on the ABC, it just simply wasn't worth listening to. And when you consider I appreciate that. I mean, he was an extreme conservative, but he did appreciate where the Australian Broadcasting Commission sat in terms of presenting people with the news. And to some extent, that is still the case. I don't think that they have moved to the left or to the right. In fact, what seems to happen is that if you get anything that is controversial, e.g. Stan Grant coronation, you will find that they will be that the inference will be that they are leaning further and further to the left. And then you get insiders where Spears interviews people that are on the right and the left will say they're moving further and further to the right. It just seems to me that the ABC can't win. No matter where you sit, the ABC will always do the wrong thing. But the issue for Sky News, and I think this is really interesting given that it's a Murdoch organisation, are extremely concerned, it seems, at the moment that racial vilification is occurring at incredible degrees within the ABC. Now, firstly, there's no real indication of that. Grant did complain about the lack of support that he felt. I haven't seen anything, someone might like to inform me, but I haven't seen anything that specifically tells us that he was vilified by anybody within the ABC. But that is what Sky News would want you to believe. So there's a clip here because, thank God, Andrew Bolt's on holidays. But even though Andrew's away, it doesn't mean that they have someone on who will still spout his rubbish, but at least doesn't do it with the ferocity and the hatred that Bolt did. But nevertheless, they are. And they interview Matt Canavan, who's a senator for the National Liberal Party, or National Party. And he's this guy they get on. And whenever they've got to complain about almost anything, particularly climate change, energy pricing, all that sort of stuff, they get Matt on because Matt is an extreme right-wing character who has very little to say that is positive. It's always negative. The man is atrocious, but nevertheless, they seem to have him on. Now, this is a case in point. When you get someone like Matt Canavan on, and you're going to expect people to think that you're presenting the media appropriately or you're presenting the news appropriately, then you're simply barking up the wrong tree, clearly, because that isn't what he does. Now, I'll play a bit of this clip for you, and you'll see exactly what I mean.
With Liberal National Party Senator for Queensland, Matt Canavan. Matt, thank you very much for your time tonight. The ABC certainly in the spotlight this week with Managing Director David Anderson fronting Senate estimates this afternoon. Looks like he was grilled over the Stan Grant debacle. Here's what he had to say.
I can't confirm whether it was us that supplied that information or how, for that matter, it was counted. I will confirm there were many, many stories around our coronation broadcast that were covered by many outlets, but including News Corp.
Yeah.
What I will say is that in amongst all of that reporting, there were inaccuracies in what was reported.
ABC Breakfast host Michael Rowland also announced he's going to take leave over the Stan Grant situation. Seems like there's big problems within the ABC that go right to the top.
I think it's worth noting that one of the problems that they have is that the other media outlets, including Sky News, made a big deal of what was happening over the coronation. Now, none of this would have happened had there not been an Indigenous perspective around colonisation, which does feed into King What's-His-Name's coronation. So it was relevant. I think that the ABC do it. It was a great discussion. It created a massive discussion in our community, which is not a bad thing, come to think of it. It's something that we should be doing more of, raise these issues, have the discussions, have the media come out and say whatever they need to do, even Sky News. You know, come out and broadcast your crap and let's see it for what it really is. It doesn't matter. But it is important, though, that there is the ABC that did this. It was the ABC that created this massive discussion around the coronation and Indigenous treaties and rights and how they've been treated by the colonisers. So this is really important stuff. Now, that would never have come out of Sky News. I can tell you that now. So what are they complaining about? They're complaining about the fact that there is another network that is so unlike their own, and it does broadcast facts, it does do fact-checking, doesn't always get it right. It's a news organisation, for Christ's sake. Get all of that. Media Watch, which is run by the ABC, always is criticising the ABC for one thing or another, as well as the other networks. So it isn't that they don't look inward, they do. And the Anderson interview in this committee really was him saying, well, look, we know that we stuffed up and I should have been more supportive of Stan. And he's bit the bullet and he's done the right thing. And yet, as you hear my friend Matt in a moment will tell you that he should resign. Well, we don't know to what extent there was racial vilification within the organisation itself. So let's be clear about that. Unless someone's got some additional information, that people are resigning and leaving, or they're not resigning as Stenny, they're just leaving as Stenny. So even though those people are just taking a break, it is about the ABC sorting out their stuff. Yet, Murdoch Press has never sorted out their shit in relation to racial vilification with regard to misogyny, sexual abuse, and a whole host of issues that sit within their organisation. So I think, you know, if you're going to look at the moral integrity of an organisation, I'd certainly take the ABC over Sky News and Murdoch Press any day. But they have to attempt at least, I think, to take the high ground. So this is what else he has to say.
Take on these things, please, Matt.
Well, Amanda, you kind of have to wonder here when someone at the top will go, because we have a situation here where a national broadcaster faces serious accusations of entrenched racism within its ranks from its own staff. I mean, these aren't coming, the criticisms of the ABC in this regard aren't coming from Sky News or the Australian or even people in the political game like myself. They're their own staff and traditionally supporters of the ABC.
I find it really interesting that he doesn't offer any information at all that tells us who is raising these issues around racial vilification. No indication that he knows anything specific about that. For example, who's it against and who's raising it. If he knew that, I'm sure he would have mentioned it, but he doesn't. So it's basically disinformation.
Accusing a national broadcaster of being racist, and we can't have a publicly funded broadcaster in this country that's seen to be potentially racist.
No, it's okay for us to have a subscription service like Sky or the Murdoch Press, a paid-for service that that are racist, misogynist, and all those other things I mentioned earlier. That seems to be okay.
There were many stories around our coronation broadcast that were covered. I can't confirm whether it was us that supplied that information or how, for that matter, it was counted. I will confirm there were many stories around our coronation broadcast that were covered by many outlets, but including News Corp.
Yeah. What
I will say is that in amongst all of that reporting, there were inaccuracies in what was reported.
Well, Amanda, you kind of have to wonder here when someone at the top will go, because we have a situation here where a national broadcaster faces serious accusations of entrenched racism within its ranks from its own staff. I mean, these aren't coming, the criticisms of the ABC in this regard aren't coming from Sky News or The Australian or even people in the political game like myself. Their own staff and traditionally supporters of the ABC are accusing a national broadcaster of being racist, and we can't have a publicly funded broadcaster in this country that's seen to be potentially racist. And
you counted. He said racist, I don't know, 10 times. So clearly that is his belief that they're racist. No evidence to support that, but that's what Mr. Wingnut does. He doesn't have all that much information, and this is where Sky News are at. You can spout whatever crap you like, and and you don't need a set of facts in order to justify whatever it is that you've said. So do you think the ABC should be dispensed with? I personally don't. I think it'd be a travesty. It would be allowing and opening up a whole plethora of other organisations to fill that gap. And Canavan, later on in this interview, and I won't play it for you because I don't want to bore you with him, but he also mentioned that there are so many outlets now. There's social media, there's things like what I'm doing now. There's other ways by which we can gather our information from other sources. The reality is that we do need a source that provides relatively accurate information that doesn't necessarily mean that that information is always within the same bubble. So if you watch Sky News or Fox News or any of the right-wing media, and that's all you watch, well, obviously you're going to hear just their stuff. But with the ABC, it should be pretty broad. The discussion should be broad. Regardless of the criticisms of Stan Grant on Q&A, I still like Q&A. I like the opportunity to hear what some of these people have to say. And I love to hear how the audience responds specifically to some of the questions that are being asked and the statements being offered, because it gives us a sense as to where people sit in our community. Now, we don't see anything like Q&A on free-to-air, apart from the ABC. So, and there's also, they always seem to forget that SBS is an important part of the Australian Broadcasting Commission as well, or is an important part anyway, of a government-funded broadcaster. And also, they talk about television all the time. They actually don't talk about radio or sports that are on radio. They don't talk about the fact that if you get rid of the ABC, you get rid of the cricket broadcasts, for example. I guess someone else will pick that up. But the ABC does a lot of other things that is not just about Stan Grant and the coronation. And we tend to forget that when we're focused on just this one sole issue. So what do you think, everybody? Let me know. Ring the bell, put a comment down below, and email me if you'd like to make any further comments, because I'd love to hear from you. So thanks, everybody. Take care, look after yourselves, and be safe.